making sure that you are in the situation where you understand to not give up in the moment. You can't let down. Can't let up. You got to go out there and get the job done. I think that's a huge thing that happened over the weekend. You saw when the Sixers and the Flyers were both faced with adverse circumstances, they both overcame. And to me, that was the most encouraging thing. It was not as much just the win. It was the fact they looked in the face of adversity and they said, we're going to find a way to win this. And that is a huge, huge thing to highlight with both of these teams. Because for the Sixers, you think about what that team went through for the last few years. You think about the fact that Sixers team, how many times would they get behind on the road and they just never had it in them to come back? And you were without Joel Embiid. And things weren't going so well for them. I mean, you started Tony Bradley and it just didn't work out. It was a good job by Doc and his coaches to say, you know what? We need to go with Dwight because this Tony Bradley thing starting is just not working. So you got to give Doc and his coaches credit for knowing, look, we got to move in a different direction. And the same thing goes for Alain Vigneault in the Flyers game. He realized that when the game was tired and going to overtime, that he might have to lean heavier on certain players in the overtime to make sure that they got that win. Both coaches had to make adjustments. The 2-3 zone for the Sixers, leaving Kevin Hayes out there for extra minutes on the ice in the third period and the overtime as well for the Flyers. Both coaches made adjustments, and that's a huge deal. It's the players responding. It's the coaches making adjustments. That's why they won over the weekend. And you can't not be encouraged. Listen, I understand the Flyers and Sixers have a lot of flaws. They're not perfect products. They're not perfect teams. But they found a way to get the job done. And to me, that's very, very encouraging, both of those teams. And furthermore, can we talk about the fact that 54 points were scored by the bench in the Sixers game? It wasn't just Furkan had a great game. You just heard him about less than an hour ago here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. It was 17 points. It was Dwight with double-double. It was Matisse with the steals and the blocks. It was Maxey going in there and being aggressive. It was the whole bench stepping up and saying, we're not going to lose this game. The whole bench stepped up and said, we are going to go out there and try to win this game despite what is in our faces right now. And I love that. I love seeing the moxie from the bench because someone had to step up without no Joel Embiid. Someone had to get up and get the job done without Joel Embiid. And it just happened to be who? The bench. And I think you cannot be not encouraged by that. And then for the Flyers, listen, how many games have we seen them play inconsistent? I don't know if the Flyers have played a full 3-period game except for maybe once this year. The majority of the year, they have not been able to play a full 3 periods. And I got to be honest with you guys. I got to keep it real with you. If the Flyers can't play a full 3 periods, then they're not going to make a Stanley Cup run. They're not going to go make a postseason run. It's just not in their nature. So I think that for the Flyers, they got to be focused more on winning, number one, which is always should be the goal. But number two, they got to find a way to get better production from the entire team for a full 3 periods. Because last night, that was a huge reason why they got that game tied up. They lost their 3-1 lead because guys were making poor decisions. Guys were not in the right place at the right time. Guys were really just not playing fundamental hockey at times. And I think it's an interesting contrast that for the Sixers, they won without Joel Embiid, but it was the bench who got them there. And then for the Flyers, they basically had to hang on for dear life to get to the overtime. And that's how they won the game. So it was a great weekend, great wins, and also great signings for the Phillies over the weekend. But let me tell you something. It's going to be a fun ride the rest of the year. You hear all the action right here on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, text board is open at 609-403-0973. And we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter as well here on 97.3 ESPN. Before we get to your comments on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on the text board at 609-403-0973, I got to give you a quick thought on the trade that happened late Saturday night, which is Matthew Stafford traded to the Los Angeles Rams for Jared Goff, 2 first-round picks, and a third-round pick. my initial reactions were three-pronged. Number one, if you don't think the Rams are an early favorite to win the Super Bowl next year, then you're out of your mind. Matthew Stafford was putting up gaudy passing numbers and keeping his team in games. He was top 10 in the NFL in fourth quarter comebacks in the last decade, and he was doing it with a mediocre offensive line, Theo Riddick as his running back, and defenses that allowed tons of points. People say, well, he had Calvin Johnson, he had Marvin Jones, he had, no, you're looking at the wide receivers. And that's the problem with a lot of people when it comes to sports. You focus so much on the sexy position, you focus so much on the hot commodity that you're not looking at the other side of the coin. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. If your offensive line doesn't block, your wide receivers don't catch, and your defense can't stop anybody, you are dead. You are nobody. Half the fans in the NFL don't know or don't care who Matthew Stafford is because he played for a garbage organization. And now he gets to go to a real franchise, play on a real team, and compete for real games. And honestly, if you take his numbers with the Lions and project it to the Rams, and as long as he plays another 5 years, he might be a Hall of Famer one day. Matthew Stafford is a phenomenal talent. Now, the second part of this is what happens to Goff. Jared Goff just spent the last few years with Sean McVay in his ear telling him what to do, what to think, and everything from play to play. He's not going to get that same type of high-level coaching with the Lions. Anthony Lynn is a very good offensive coach, but he's not going to be able to hold Jared Goff's hand. This is Goff's opportunity to break off the training wheels and try to ride the two-wheel bike on his own. Is he going to succeed or is he going to fall on his face? That whole organization has got a lot of people outside of Anthony Lynn who people have questions about. You know, Dan Campbell was coaching under Sean Payton. You could look good when your head coach is Sean Payton. Look at even the former Eagles coach, Deuce Staley. Deuce has only ever coached in Philadelphia, never coached anywhere else. What happens now that he's outside of Philadelphia? What happens to Goff? What happens to a lot of these people in Detroit is going to be a very interesting conversation. And also, how does the Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford trade impact Carson Wentz? Now that we've seen a quote-unquote unmovable contract moved in the NFL, and with the rumors that Deshaun Watson could be traded, what does that impact Carson Wentz's status this offseason? So a lot of ramifications, and we'll get all of that coming up here on the show. Of course, 609-403-0973 is the text board. We are also live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can watch the show, Josh Hennig, live in the Matt Blatt Kia studios here on 97.3 ESPN. Coming up next, Tony Pauline from the Bleav in NFL Draft Analyst podcast. We'll get into what happened at the Senior Bowl this weekend, who the Eagles should draft 6 overall, and more right here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City and live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Just search 97.3 ESPN.
It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey Wednesday night on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app with Tim Saunders and Steve Coates calling all the play-by-play action.
Ryder Hunt gets over and makes a great save.
The Flyers host the Boston Bruins. Coverage begins after Sixers basketball. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on the radio home of the Flyers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN, and listen live on the free mobile app.
Start the new year in a new Kia at Matt Blatt Kia in Toms River or Egg Harbor Township today. The new year is an opportunity to set new goals and start fresh. And at Matt Blatt Kia, our goal is to get you out of that old car you hate. Come in today or visit us online and get the credit you deserve this new year. 0% APR financing available for up to 75 months on new 2021 Kia Sportage LX SUVs in stock. Plus, Matt Blatt Kia in Toms River and Egg Harbor Township wants your trade, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Plus, you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
It's gotta be a
Matt Blatt Kia.
Offers with approved Tier 1 or 2 credit through Kia Motors Finance. Not all will qualify. 0% based on 1516 per 1,000 borrowed. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details. Expires 2/4/2021. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township. And now on Route 37 in Toms River.
Let's start with all the people smitten by a certain sweetheart. Now narrow it to all those lovebirds who kind of let Valentine's Day sneak up on them and need to woo this sweetheart in a hurry. For you romantic but forgetful Cupid, Walgreens has great gifts for pickup in as little as 30 minutes. So whether it's a card and a box of candy or a bottle of perfume, Walgreens helps you get sweet gifts in a heartbeat. Aww.
This week, select Russell Stover chocolates are buy one, get one free. Of equal or lesser price, restrictions apply to pickup. See walgreens.com/pickup for details.
A message from your neighbors and friends at First Bank. We've been serving residents and businesses of Sea Isle City and the surrounding communities for more than 130 years. Today's challenges, while unique, are another opportunity to show our strength and resilience. Our commitment to you remains strong. Whether it's using our drive-through services, bank by phone, the First Bank mobile app, or online banking, we're staying strong with you. Be safe and be secure. First Bank, here for you.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Buying some pretzel sticks?
Excuse me?
This is your wake-up call from TracFone Wireless.
Okay.
What if you didn't eat all those pretzel sticks by the end of the month, so this store took them back?
Good luck.
That's how some wireless companies are with your data, but TracFone Wireless gives you unlimited carryover data with active service, so you keep what you pay for. Plans start at $20 a month.
Wow, that's cool.
Sir, are you bothering the customers?
Yeah, hang on. This is your wake-up call, people. TracFone Wireless. Now you're in control. Available at major retailers. See terms and conditions at TracFone.com.
Hey guys, are you afraid of taking off your shirt in public? Don't be embarrassed. Just say, I love Lyle back instead with male breast reduction. Many men develop a fullness in their chest as boys that persists and even worsens as they get older. This condition is called gynecomastia, and with simple liposuction, most cases can be effectively treated. Call 856-MAKEOVER today to schedule your private consultation with Dr. Lyle and Back. That's 856-MAKEOVER, or visit ilovelyle.back.com.
Stop the countdown. It's not a new year we're celebrating. It's an all-new Matt Blatt Nissan. Yes, you heard right. Matt Blatt Nissan is now open on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township, next to Home Depot, and online at mattblattnissan.com. Help us celebrate when you get out of that old car, truck, or SUV and into a brand new Nissan with the Matt Blatt Nissan Fast Track Checkout. Available online at mattblattnissan.com. Our non-touch delivery and electronic paperwork ensures your safety comes first. Plus, Matt Blatt Nissan wants your trade. Bring it in today and help us celebrate the all-new Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township, or visit us online. We want to help with your credit approval. And don't forget, with Matt Blatt, you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Celebrate the all-new Matt Blatt Nissan online at mattblattnissan.com. Credit may affect terms. Negative equity will be refinanced if a new vehicle. Get all the details at mattblattnissan.com. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN. We'll get to your thoughts and comments on the text board at 609-403-0973 in just a bit, as well as your thoughts on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We are live at 97.3 ESPN on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. But joining us right now on the Boardwalk kind of hotline, he is the host of the Bleav and Draft Analyst on the Bleav Podcasting Network, also NFL Draft Analyst for Pro Football Network. He is Tony Pauline joining us right now on the Boardwalk kind of hotline. Tony, how you doing this Monday?
I'm okay. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you jumping on, and I want to start with what you guys talking about on the pod over the weekend was the Senior Bowl, and that is, I feel like every year at the Senior Bowl, there are guys that stand out and guys take serious step back. So who were a couple guys for you when you're evaluating these guys heading into the draft this year that maybe took the best steps forward and maybe a guy who took the biggest step back?
I thought Mac Jones really helped himself. You know, Mac Jones had a lot riding on the line. There were a lot of naysayers, such as myself, who thought that Mac Jones was primarily the beneficiary of the talent at Alabama, but he proved at the Senior Bowl that he made the talent work at Alabama because he was right on with his accuracy. His pass placement was terrific. The timing that he showed with receivers that were basically strangers and foreigners to him 48 hours earlier was outstanding. He was always in command and control of the offense. Thought he did a great job. I think Quinn Miners, the small school offensive lineman from Wisconsin Whitewater, was fantastic. He played center. He played guard. He dominated everybody. And when I mean everybody, I'm talking about big-time talent, Patrick Jones of Pittsburgh and one-on-ones, Odighizuwa of UCLA, Quan Graham of Texas. I mean, just annihilated those guys at the point of attack. Absolutely did what a small school player has got to do. Richie Grant, the safety from Central Florida, answered questions about his ball skills, was picking off passes every day. I believe he had 2 picks the last day. As far as a player I think hurt himself, I got to say I was very disappointed in Spencer Brown, the big right tackle from Northern Iowa. He's a guy who I thought was underrated, and he basically looked like a guy who hadn't played football in a year, which he hasn't because Northern Iowa did not have a season in 2020, or they delayed their season, and he was constantly getting pushed back and getting annihilated at the point. And the guy, 6'8", 320 pounds. I was expecting more from Spencer Brown.
You mentioned the guys who were not playing this year. I want to ask you about that. How is it evaluating guys who didn't play for a year? Because we know so many times that, repetitions is what makes guys get better. And without those repetitions, it's hard to know if they're really getting better. And I look at not just the guy that you just mentioned, but, maybe Jamar Chase. These guys, we know how talented they are, but how hard is it to evaluate somebody and know what they could be without an entire year of those repetitions?
Well, it is, but I think, Jamar Chase, he's a real good player. And what we know about LSU receivers are they're usually better NFL players, better NFL receivers than they are in college. But I think your point is right on. You look at a guy like Caleb Farley that people are talking about as a top 12 pick. I mean, Caleb Farley throughout his career was very inconsistent. He showed flashes of brilliance, but he was never a consistent lockdown cornerback. So I think a guy like Caleb Farley is a roll of the dice. If you take him in the top 20 picks, I mean, there's no guarantee. Trey Lance, another guy that people talk about as being a very early first-round pick, played 1 game this season, and it was not any of his fault because North Dakota State only played 1 game this season, and he's a guy that has 1 year starting experience on the 1AA level. I think those guys that didn't play this year, whether because their seasons were postponed to the spring or whether they chose to opt out, most of them anyway, except for the Jamar Chases and the Penny Sewells, I think there's a lot of downside risk, and those are the guys that may take a little bit longer to produce at the next level if they produce at all.
Tony Pauline joining us here on the Boardwalk Kind of Hotline here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. You can follow him on Twitter at Tony Pauline, of course, the co-host of the Bleav and Draft Analyst podcast on the Bleav Podcasting Network, also NFL Draft Analyst at ProFootballNetwork.com. Tony, here in the Philadelphia area, one of the big topics this offseason is going to be the Eagles with the 6th overall pick in the draft. Eagles haven't had this high of a pick of their own, before they traded up to get Carson Wentz, but of their own since they drafted Lane Johnson. So in your mind, is there a player or players out there who make the most sense for the Eagles?
Well, they got to figure out if Andre Dillard is in their future plans or whether they're going to move on from him and then kind of hope that maybe Penny Sewell slides down. I don't think that's going to happen. They need a receiver. I doubt Jamar Chase is going to be there. Do they look to a Devonta Smith? What are they going to do at the quarterback position? I don't know, or it didn't seem like any definitive decision has been made. What if one of the quarterbacks falls down? One of those 2 quarterbacks either being Zach Wilson of BYU or Justin Fields, or does it cost that much? Can they move up a few slots? I think they're in a tough position in the sense that they've got an early pick. They should get a good player, but it may not be the player that they want or the player that many of the fans are hoping for, whether that be the Jamar Chase, whether that be the Penny Sewell, or maybe even one of the quarterbacks if they are ready to move on from Carson Wentz.
You mentioned Devonta Smith. You guys mentioned on the podcast about the fact that he wouldn't weigh in down to Senior Bowl, and that's such an odd thing. I don't think I've ever heard of a receiver not willing to weigh in. How concerning is that, and what kind of impact may it have on his draft evaluation for teams like the Eagles who say, look, we like this guy in college, but is his frame maybe a little bit too lean for the NFL level?
It's not just that he didn't weigh in. He didn't do anything. I mean, what the hell was he doing in Mobile? He didn't practice. He didn't take repetitions. He wouldn't weigh in. why was he on the roster? Why was he taking somebody else's spot? So it was just a couple of things. Devonta Smith is a great receiver. There's no doubt about it. I always said that he was the most complete receiver of the Alabama crew that we've seen in recent years. Jalen Waddle this year, Jerry Jeudy last year, Henry Ruggs last year. But he's got a smaller frame. So he's not a good fit for every offense. He's eventually going to have to get on a scale and weigh in. And, if he comes in at 175 pounds, 178 pounds, people are going to wonder, is that his real playing weight? What was he actually 10 pounds lighter at the Senior Bowl, which is his actual playing weight, which is why he wouldn't get on the scale. So there will be some team that overlooks that and just looks at the film and what a terrific receiver this guy is and selects him, I think, within the first 10 to 15 picks of the draft. But the fact is, it was not just the weigh-ins. It was the fact that he's on the Senior Bowl roster. He doesn't get on the scale, and he does nothing all week while other guys are out there practicing.
Now, you mentioned the other guys practicing. We know that there's a lot of talk about the receivers in this draft. We mentioned Jamar Chase. We mentioned Devonta Smith. We know his teammate Waddle. Is there a guy maybe flying under the radar right now that you think could make a major impact at the NFL level? Because we know for the Eagles and their fans, there's a lot of questions, like you said, about the wide receiver position.
If you're talking early in the draft, and early being top 15 picks, I happen to love Rondale Moore of Purdue. A little bit short, 5'9", probably goes about 180 pounds, but he is explosive. He has legitimate game-breaking speed, but he's also a very good receiver. He's also a very good pass catcher. They ran a lot of receiver screens for him at Purdue, and his explosion and quickness and burst in the first 3 yards was unlike any that I've ever seen. So that is a guy that, early on, I think is going to be very underrated. If you're looking at day 2, a guy like, if you're looking for a field stretcher, Diami Brown, the underclassman from North Carolina, who's coming off of 2 terrific years, 2 terrific seasons. He's a guy that, has opposing cornerbacks consistently playing back on their heels. If you're looking for a last day guy, someone who really stood out at the receiver position was Austin Watkins of UAB, who's been a good receiver the past 2 years at UAB. Not the fastest guy in the world, but a great route runner, exceptionally quick, sure-handed, and someone who was able to separate on the college level. And with the route running skills he showed during the Senior Bowl, he should be able to separate the next level, no problem.
Tony, the guy that I've been preaching for the last couple of weeks, I personally think the Eagles should take, not that they actually listen to me at all, but I think the Eagles need to take Patrick Surtain from Alabama, because it's been a long time since this organization has had a blue chip guy in that secondary. Tell the audience about Patrick Surtain and what makes him special.
Great size, incredible athleticism. Obviously, the bloodlines are there. This is the day and age of your taller safeties. He's going to go about 6'1". He plays fast. He plays physical. Sometimes he plays out of control. Sometimes he doesn't make plays with his back to the ball. But I think he's one of those guys that has got huge upside. He's not a Jeffrey Okudah. He's not as polished as many of the Ohio State corners, Denzel Ward, that we've seen come out and have been early picks and have been immediate starters. But he's got huge upside. The problem with Surtain is there may be a lot of bumps in the road early for him, because he's got to learn to get his head back around, position himself against receivers to make plays. If you get the best of Patrick Surtain and you can coach him to get the best out of him, you've got a lockdown corner for years to come.
Tony Pauline joining us here on the Boardwalk Kind of Hotline here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. You can follow him on Twitter at Tony Pauline. Check out the Bleav in Draft Analyst podcast and the Bleav Podcasting Network. Also, all of his coverage over at ProFootballNetwork.com. Tony, I'd be remiss if I didn't touch on the quarterbacks with you, because that's the sexy position. That's the thing everybody loves to hyper-analyze and talk about. Explain to the audience out there what is going on with this draft class, because I feel like there's a lot of misinformation and confusion when it comes to the guys after Trevor Lawrence: Fields, Wilson, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Kyle Trask. I feel like depending on who you ask what day of the week, you might get a different answer from certain people who are covering this.
You will, but the first two guys that you mentioned, Justin Fields and Zach Wilson, are legitimate early draft picks. I mean, if Trevor Lawrence wasn't in this draft, they'd be in the conversation for the first pick of the draft. They may not be the first, but they would be in that conversation, and they're going to be top 5 picks. There are different types of quarterbacks. Fields is the strong-armed athlete who can make all the throws and get the deep pass downfield with great speed and velocity. Zach Wilson is more the thinking man's quarterback. He's the cerebral guy. He's a guy that processes everything quickly, doesn't have the arm strength of Fields, but he makes a lot of plays. He's a timing passer who knows what's happening on the field. Trey Lance, like I said before, he's got great upside. He's probably going to be a mid-first round pick, but with Trey Lance, with the inexperience at the quarterback position, he's only played it for 1 year as a starter. You may have to sit him for a year. I think with Mac Jones, you could make the argument that after Trevor Lawrence, there's no quarterback in this draft that is as NFL ready as Mac Jones. He doesn't have the physical skills of Justin Fields. He may not have the foot quickness or the ability to make plays outside the pocket of Zach Wilson, but I think, you can plug him in. He just doesn't have the upside. Kyle Trask, if it was 1986 or 1991, Kyle Trask would probably be a top 15 pick. He's a great classic pocket passer. But in this day and age of RPO quarterbacks and quarterbacks that you want mobility in, he falls short, which is why he's going to push down draft boards. If you're looking for a sleeper at the quarterback position, a day 2 sleeper, Davis Mills of Stanford. Great size, great arm strength, but a guy that sort of like Trey Lance is going to need some coddling, is going to need some time before he's NFL ready.
I'm very curious also about, and I don't say this to be negative about Trask, but one of the things about him that kind of worries me a little bit, and you could tell me how wrong I am about this, because I probably am wrong about this. I kind of go back to when Tim Couch came out of Kentucky and how high-powered that offense was, and I almost felt like he was a byproduct of the offense, and when he got to the NFL, he was maybe exposed a little bit more than people even expected him to be. Is Kyle Trask a product of that Dan Mullen offense?
No, I don't think so. I also think the problem with Tim Couch was the Cleveland Browns, took him so early on, but they did nothing to protect him. He was just getting the crap beat out of him, and that's going to be a problem for any quarterback. You use an early pick on a quarterback, you better make sure that you protect him. Couch was never protected. Trask has been a solid quarterback the past 2 years. I mean, you look at the system there. Obviously, Kyle Pitts, the tight end from Florida, is going to be a very early selection. They've had a couple of good receivers there in Tony this year, who's elevated his draft stock. But I think that, Trask has been a main mover, a common denominator in that offense that has been really a catalyst for it. It's just that he does not have the mobility or the foot speed or the agility that teams want in the quarterback. He's your classic drop back pocket passer.
Jay, one more question about the quarterbacks for you. I appreciate you answering all these questions. When I think about also how many times we've seen all those quarterbacks, like in 2018, all the quarterbacks drafted in the first round. So how many do you think actually will go in the first round this year?
Before Senior Bowl week, I thought it was going to be 4: Lawrence, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, and Trey Lance. But after watching Mac Jones last week, I think there's a better than 75% chance that he ends up in the first round. And remember, Eagle fans should know this firsthand. The Senior Bowl is a kingmaker at the quarterback position. We saw Carson Wentz go from a late first round pick to the second pick of the draft because of his performance at the Senior Bowl. So while the Senior Bowl sometimes is overhyped, there are some positions, quarterback being number one. If you talk about Phillip Rivers, you talk about Carson Palmer. I mean, guys who just went there and had knockout weeks. Donovan McNabb, another one who had a great week, and the Eagles took early on that really helped enhance quarterback draft stock. So I think there's a very good chance, to answer your question, I'm going off the rails here, very good chance that 5 quarterbacks are taken in the first round, with Mac Jones being that 5th.
No, nothing wrong with going off the rails. We like the insight here on 97.3 ESPN. You mentioned Carson Wentz. How is he, from what you projected him to be, going into the draft versus what he has become? Because there's a lot of conflicting opinions in this area. A lot of people in this area, Tony, some people still love him. They think he can still be 2017 guy. Some people think that he's a broken clock and he can't be fixed. So what do you think of him from what you evaluated him to be back in 2016 to what he has become?
Well, I didn't think that it would come to this point where, they made all those draft picks and now his future is in question. That's for sure. I thought that he would be further along, especially what he showed early in his career. But I think, number one, he just had a lot of injuries. And number two, there was the situation with the coach just went sour. And those are two very bad intangibles for any quarterback. Can he pull it together? I mean, I hope so. Besides, you don't want to see a guy like that fail, especially a guy with that sort of personality, although I know there are a lot of Eagles fans, even in this area, and I'm in the New York area where there are a lot of Eagles fans who were sort of rooting against them. I just want him to stick with Jalen Hurts. I think he's a physically talented guy. I think it's between the ears for Carson Wentz.
He's Tony Pauline. You can follow him on Twitter at Tony Pauline. He's the NFL draft analyst for ProFootballNetwork.com. And don't forget the Bleav in Draft Analyst podcast and the Bleav Podcasting Network. Catch all of his insights all the way leading up to the NFL draft. That's all guests he appeared today on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Tony, great stuff. Appreciate you jumping on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, Game Night being brought to you by my friends over at weightliftinghq.com. Weightliftinghq.com is located right here in South Jersey. They service all of the tri-state area, whatever you need. Benches, squat racks, kettlebells, dumbbells, cardio and fitness machines, resistance bands, and more. Whatever you need to meet your fitness goals in 2021, weightliftinghq.com is here to help you. And right now, use my promo code RADIO10 for 10% off at checkout of your entire order. Yes, 10% off your entire order when you use Radio10 at weightliftinghq.com. Listen, it's already February 1st. It's time for you to get serious about your weightlifting and fitness and health programs. Whatever you need to meet your goals so the summer doesn't come up and creep and catch you by surprise, weightliftinghq.com is here to help you reach your goals. Check them out. weightliftinghq.com. Use the promo code Radio10 for 10% off your entire order only at weightliftinghq.com. We'll get to your thoughts and comments at 609-403-0973. Also, your thoughts and comments on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Just follow 97.3 ESPN. We're streaming live on the stream in the Matt Black studios on 97.3 ESPN FM. And don't forget the free 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It is free, thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City.
If you own a small business, you know how hard it can be to find new customers. But maybe you're unaware of new tools that can help your business stand out. Go to GetLocalCustomersNow.com. for a free market competitive analysis that will show you what other businesses are doing to find new customers and how you can do it too. There's no cost and no obligation. Be one of the first business owners to sign up and receive $500 in free advertising on this station. Get started today. Visit GetLocalCustomersNow.com. That's GetLocalCustomersNow.com.
Buying some pretzel sticks?
Excuse me?
This is your wake-up call from TracFone Wireless.
Okay.
What if you didn't eat all those pretzel sticks by the end of the month, so this store took them back?
Good luck.
That's how some wireless companies are with your data, but TracFone Wireless gives you unlimited carryover data with active service, so you keep what you pay for. Plans start at $20 a month.
Wow, that's cool.
Sir, are you bothering the customers?
Yeah, hang on.
This is your wake-up call, people. TracFone Wireless. Now you're in control.
Available at major retailers. See terms and conditions at TracFone.com.
What do you get when you talk to a Dell Technologies advisor? You get someone who understands there's an art to listening, who's able to hear more than what's being said, and can provide tailored small business solutions that make you feel truly heard.
I understand. Let's get started.
For advice on everything from laptops to the cloud and solutions powered by Intel vPro platform, call an advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL.
A message from your neighbors and friends at First Bank. We've been serving residents and businesses of Sea Isle City and the surrounding communities for more than 130 years. Today's challenges, while unique, are another opportunity to show our strength and resilience. Our commitment to you remains strong. Whether it's using our drive-through services, bank by phone, the First Bank mobile app, or online banking, we're staying strong with you. Be safe and be secure. First Bank. here for you.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Carmen's startup found an angel investor, but now they're asking for a miracle from her development team.
Hello, this is Carmen. That's exciting news. I guess we could launch early.
It's time to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. The moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Indeed delivers 2.5 times more hires than the other branded job sites combined, according to Breezy HR 2019. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first job post. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey guys, are you afraid of taking off your shirt in public? Don't be embarrassed. Just say, I love Lyle back instead with male breast reduction. Many men develop a fullness in their chest as boys that persists and even worsens as they get older. This condition is called gynecomastia, and with simple liposuction, most cases can be effectively treated. Call 856-MAKEOVER today to schedule your private consultation with Dr. Lyle and Back. That's 856-MAKEOVER, or visit ILoveLyleBack.com.
Start the new year in a new Kia at Matt Blatt Kia in Toms River or Egg Harbor Township today. The new year is an opportunity to set new goals and start fresh. And at Matt Blatt Kia, our goal is to get you out of that old car you hate. Come in today or visit us online and get the credit you deserve this new year. 0% APR financing available for up to 75 months on new 2021 Kia Sportage LX SUVs in stock. Plus, Matt Blatt Kia in Toms River and Egg Harbor Township wants your trade, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Plus, you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Offers with approved Tier 1 or 2 credit through Kia Motors Finance. Not all will qualify. 0% based on 1516 per 1,000 borrowed. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details. Expires 2/4/2021. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township. And now on Route 37 in Toms River.
Tonight on Compass Media Network's coverage of NCAA basketball, it's an ACC showdown from South Beach as the Miami Hurricanes host the Duke Blue Devils. Hi, this is John Rothstein. Join Bill Rosinski, Chucky Brown, and myself for all the action as Isaiah Wong and the Hurricanes battle it out with Matthew Hurt and the Blue Devils. It's Duke and Miami, ACC hoops. If it's NCAA basketball, it's right here.
The college basketball season continues only on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Thanks, Tony Pauline, for joining the show. We got a busy week of guests this week on Game Night. It's a busy week for the Sports Bash, as it is always. Of course, Mike Yell and the guys in the Sports Bash. I mean, they got Ike Taylor, Sarah Spain, Sal Palantonio, Ryan Leaf, all coming up this week on the Sports Bash. Anthony Beck. But right here on Game Night tomorrow night, we got a twofer for you tomorrow. It is Super Bowl week, so we will be bringing you Josh Booty. You may remember that name. Josh Booty played baseball, played college football at LSU, played baseball for the Yankees and the Marlins. He's also the host of the SEC Quarterbacks podcast and the Bleav Podcasting Network. So we're going to get more insight from him about the quarterbacks in the SEC, as well as his experiences playing football and baseball. Also, Freddie Coleman and Ian Fitzsimmons are going to join the show this week. That's Freddie and Fitz, Monday through Friday nights here on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, a busy week here. A lot of stuff to get to. But we'll get to your comments and thoughts at 609-403-0973. And we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Don't forget, we will be bringing you the FanDuel Sportsbook pick of the night in about 10 minutes from now. Don't forget, FanDuel Sportsbook is the place to go to celebrate the 55th edition of the big game with exclusive 55-1 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook. If you never tried FanDuel before, new users can bet on either team and get 55-1 odds when the Chiefs play the Bucks. That's right. You can bet $5 and win $275 if you pick the winner of the big game on February 7th with FanDuel Sportsbook. Listen, I've been betting on FanDuel Sportsbook all season long. And on FanDuel Sportsbook, there's a range of betting options from player props, the daily odds boost, and don't forget about the same game parlays. You can get a massive payout on a small bet only with FanDuel Sportsbook. So right now, download the FanDuel Sportsbook app or go to sportsbook.fanduel.com and use my promo code Hennig when you sign up. That's HENNIG when you sign up with FanDuel Sportsbook to get 55-1 odds on the big game. That's promo code Hennig, HENNIG, with FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 or to play. President NJ or PA. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Again, we'll give you my FanDuel Sportsbook pick of the night just about a little under 10 minutes from now. But I did want to get some of your thoughts and comments out there. Sixers and Flyers went over the weekend. Phillies re-sign Didi Gregorius. Eagles at the 6th pick in the draft. You heard Tony Pauline say right there here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Tony was telling us just about 10 minutes ago that if he were the Eagles, he would seriously look at wide receiver. And he doesn't know if Jamar Chase is going to be there. He has some questions about Devonta Smith. So he says go Waddle of Alabama. He thinks you go wide receiver. I asked him about cornerback. He says that Patrick Surtain has a chance to be a great player, but he's still got some refinement to do with his game. So what do you think? Who the Eagles should pick at 6 overall? Let me know. 609-403-0973. Also, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Live here in the Matt Blatt Kia Studios on 97.3 ESPN. A little bit earlier, Paul Westcott commented on Facebook. He's watching on the Facebook stream. He says, "Hey, Josh, the Flyers are the worst good team I have ever seen." I hear what you're saying, Paul. I really do. But I think that in general, we are being too hard on the Philadelphia Flyers. And I say that because, listen, Hunter Brody, co-host the show with Mike Gill, he played hockey, college level, pro level, minor leagues. So he knows the game better than I do. But I even think he's being too harsh on the Flyers. Look, do they have defensive issues right now? Yes. But I don't think all those defensive issues are just purely because of the defenseman. I think it's a big part because the team is showing you how much they depend on Sean Couturier's two-way offense and defense on the ice. This team depends so much on Sean Couturier, the Selke Award winner. If you ever wondered why he won the Selke Award, now you see why. Because this team is not hitting their defensive assignments. We saw it multiple times this year already. I talked with Kevin Durso, our Flyers insider, about this previously here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Kevin Durso has explained on multiple occasions that, look, this team, they do not have the best setup when it comes to playing defense right now. And I don't know if it's purely because of the line combinations. I don't know if it's just because there's no Sean Couturier, but whatever reason there is, this team's defensive effort is lacking. They're not always getting back on defense or the forwards. That's a part of the reason why Travis Konechny was a healthy scratch on Saturday night, because it was a message being sent that, look, you may be our best goal scorer, but you are not helping us on the defensive end of the ice. So I don't think they're the worst good team out there. They may be the worst good team you've ever seen, Paul Westcott, and I appreciate you chiming in, but I don't see it that way. I see a team that is playing without their best two-way player. I see it as a team that played a majority of those games without Phil Myers. I see a team that at times doesn't really have a good feel yet for who they should be. I think we're learning more than ever. And they brought this up on the Flyers broadcast a couple times now with Tim Saunders and Steve Coates. You can hear the games here on 97.3 ESPN. Those two have brought up the fact, and I think it's a great point. This season would look a lot different if there was a preseason. Because of the COVID protocols and because of everything that's going on in the world right now, the NHL had no preseason. And I think that negatively impacted way more than people realize. And because it impacted that way, I think that this team has now taken 4 or 5 games to find themselves. I don't think this team is where there would be if there was a preseason to set them up. And I think, Paul, the reason why you think that they're the worst good team you've ever seen is because you're seeing a team whose flaws would have been ironed out during a preseason, not having the opportunity to iron out those things. I think one of the things that needs to be ironed out is the defensive pairings. I think the Provorov-Gostisbehere pairing is working. But the other two pairings, I don't know. I don't like any pairing that Robert Haig has been on this year. I think Mark Friedman is just not a good defenseman. I don't think he's a quality NHL defenseman. I want to see more Prosner. I think Nate Prosner showed you something. He showed you a little aggression. He showed you a little He showed you a little energy in the one game he played. I need more of him out there. I think that these 2 days off for the Flyers is an opportunity for Alain Vigneault and his coaches to have an honest conversation about who should be the defenseman, because it's not going to fix all your problems, but I think it at least puts you in a position to say, look, Braun, Haig, Prosner, of those three, we got to pick two. We got to pick two. And if I'm going to pick two, I'm sorry, but I don't think Haig is one of those two. I give Prosner more playing time. I put him back out there with Braun, or put him out there with either Sanheim or Myers and flip the other guy to be with Braun, and I would see what happens. I think you got something nice working with Ghost and with Provorov, because Ghost's ability to be an offensive and push the offense into the zone allows Provorov to have a little less pressure. Yes, it feels a little redundant to have two offensive guys paired together, but I think that their style of plays don't interfere with each other, while alleviates some pressure from both guys. So that's my perspective on the Flyers. Flyers back in action on Wednesday. You hear the calls right here on 97.3 ESPN. We actually got a triple header for you on Wednesday night. High school basketball at 6 o'clock. Flyers right after the Sixers game, which is right after the high school basketball games. We got high school basketball, Sixers, Flyers, all covered Wednesday night right here on 97.3 ESPN. You can drop more comments on the Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter streams. We are at 973 ESPN, streaming the show live. Also, 609-403-0973 is the text board. 609-403-0973. Don't forget my FanDuel Sportsbook pick of the night coming up in just a few minutes. But I want to get to a couple other things that we didn't get the chance to touch on yet, because I wanted to ask Tony Pauline those questions about the quarterbacks, is because, as I said earlier in the show, I think that the Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff trade is the first domino for a wild offseason. There are numerous teams that are looking for quarterbacks. The 49ers have questions at quarterback. The Bears have questions at quarterback. Washington has questions at quarterback. New England has questions at quarterback. The Deshaun Watson situation down in Houston, there's no guarantee that Dak Prescott goes back to the Cowboys. Are the Dolphins really sold on Tua Tagovailoa as their quarterback moving forward? The Atlanta Falcons have hired a new head coach. Is Matt Ryan going to play for another different head coach with another different offense coordinator, or do they move on from Matthew Stafford and draft their next quarterback? The Carolina Panthers, they were interested in acquiring Matthew Stafford. They didn't get him. There are talks from the Senior Bowl that there are people, because remember, the Panthers coaching staff was a part of the Senior Bowl this weekend. The Panthers coaching staff really likes Mac Jones of Alabama. Do they draft Mac Jones, or do they go out and get a veteran quarterback? Look at New Orleans. That's a 10th team with quarterback questions. Is it Jameis Winston? Is it Taysom Hill? Is it somebody else who goes there? There's rumors coming out of Denver that if they can get their hands on a better quarterback, they will, because they're not 100% sold on Drew Lock. There's a lot of quarterback questions around the NFL. I didn't even include the Eagles situation when talking about the quarterback questions. The Eagles is a whole nother set of potatoes, as they would say. I don't know if anybody actually says that. I just made it off the top of my head. But the point is that the Eagles situation is completely different from all these other situations. So it's apples to oranges. But what they do have in common, I can't tell you for sure who the starting quarterback is next year. And I think that the trade of Stafford and Goff is just the beginning. I don't think Deshaun Watson is going to be the quarterback in Houston next year. I think he goes somewhere. I think Sam Darnold is not the quarterback with the New York Jets next year. I'd be shocked. I think what Tony Pauline told us earlier, NFL draft analyst from the Bleav in NFL Draft Analyst podcast and the Bleav Podcasting Network, I think Tony Pauline brought up an excellent point. Mac Jones is skyrocketing right now in terms of a lot of people's eyes. If you have 5 quarterbacks drafted in the first round, I feel very comfortable saying that if 5 teams draft quarterbacks, that at least a couple of them in the first round are going to have that guy sit behind somebody. There's no guarantee that the quarterback of fill-in-the-blank team isn't going to be a veteran or a rookie next year. I think every situation is different. I think there's a possibility that Sam Darnold gets traded. I think there's a possibility that New England gets involved in this trade market because they have some cap room to absorb a contract like a Matt Ryan's or like a Jimmy Garoppolo's. You look at a franchise, for example, like the 49ers. They were non-committal to Jimmy G, just like the Rams were to Jared Goff. And we know that Kyle Shanahan likes certain quarterbacks. Does he get reunited with Matt Ryan? Does he try to draft a quarterback? They had a rough season. They have a solid draft pick. A lot of questions have to be answered with the quarterback position, and I'm all for it here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, FanDuel Sportsbook pick of the night. We are going to go over to the Suns and the Mavericks. The Suns and the Mavericks, the Mavs are only on -2.5, but that number is deceiving. It's very deceiving. No Devin Booker tonight for the Suns. He has been ruled out. He's in COVID protocols. So the Suns' best player is out. Meanwhile, the Mavs, this will be the first game this year that everyone is available. No one's out because of COVID. Porzingis has been playing a few games. So you see the Mavs have lost 5 straight games. And one of them is to Phoenix. But now they get Dorian Finney-Smith back. Now they get back everyone that's in COVID protocol. I think the Mavs break their losing streak. They are 100% fully powered and healthy, back in action tonight. Give me the Mavs. -2.5 is the spread. Give me the Mavs. I'm going Mavs. I don't think the Suns can beat them in back-to-back games. I really don't. So good value on that 2.5 as well. And you want to look for a player to throw for the DFS tonight from the Suns and the Mavs game? I just mentioned him. Dorian Finney-Smith. That guy is a guy who stuffs the stat sheet. He can score points. He can get rebounds. He gets assists. He gets steals. He does a little bit of everything for the Mavs. Give me Finney-Smith tonight on the DFS line. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. Thanks, Tony Pauline, for joining the show. Coming up next, Duke versus Miami in college basketball right here on 97.3 ESPN.
It's Sixers basketball Wednesday night on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Burkott pulls up, wing jumps out of McConnell, it's good! Burkott, Korkmaz gives the Sixers the lead.
The Sixers are in Charlotte to face the Hornets. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins Wednesday night after high school basketball.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff. Learn more, live better.
High blood pressure or hypertension is very common and something many Americans have to keep an eye on. In fact, you could have high blood pressure and not even know it. After all, there's a reason it is known as the silent killer. It can put unwanted stress on your heart and can lead to serious health problems such as heart attack, kidney disease, sexual dysfunction, and stroke. Your blood pressure consists of 2 numbers, and these numbers may fluctuate during the day depending on your activities. But new guidelines from the American Heart Association actually lower the threshold that's considered too high. This new definition will result in nearly half of the U.S. adult population having high blood pressure, with the greatest impact among younger people. Take control of these numbers by decreasing sodium, cutting out smoking, and increasing physical activity. In some cases, medication may also help. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Health Update